We're broadcasting live from our Montreux studios in Bulawayo. Good evening and welcome to the main news. Marilyn Gwenya. Susan Masana is interpreting the bulletin in sign language. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Emmerson Mnangagwa pays tribute to the late Dr. Joshua Nkomo for laying a solid foundation for a united Zimbabwe. He was addressing the ZANU-PF Politburo meeting in Harare this Wednesday. In business, Zimbabwe tobacco sector continues to maintain its top position as Africa's biggest grower of the golden leaf. And in sport, Dynamos and Hard Rock fined after the abandonment of their matchday 14 fixture. Those are your headlines for tonight. Let's take a look at our first story, where the President and First Secretary of ZANU-PF, Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa, says the late Father Zimbabwe, Dr. Joshua Nkomo, laid a solid foundation for a united Zimbabwe. He was speaking at the 394th ZANU-PF Politburo meeting in Harare this Wednesday, which coincided with the 27th anniversary of the death of the Vice President. Chief Correspondent Ruben Barwe has the details.
27 years ago today, Father Zimbabwe, the late Dr. Joshua Nkomo, passed on. It coincides with the 394th ZANU-PF Politburo meeting, and it all began with a minute of silence called by the President and First Secretary of the party, Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa.
May the souls of the departed continue to rest in eternal peace. I thank you, comrades. We take our seats. This meeting coincides with the nation's commemoration of the 27th anniversary of the passing on of our national hero, one of the founding fathers of independent Zimbabwe, umdala wethu, Father Zimbabwe. Comrade Joshua Nyongolo Nkomo. We honor his invaluable contribution to the armed liberation struggle.
Yes, ZANU-PF as a party has gone through many twists and turns. And this past weekend was the sale day, where the party was taking stock of who is who in the party.
Isuse leadership, tinofanikwa tichionekwa tichizvininipisa kuinda kuma structures kwatinogara ikoko. Kana masvika ikoko musanori vavatungamiriri. Kana masvika ikoko munogarawo pasi motongwa na chairman wesel kandi chairman wedistrict. Ndo zvandinoita ndikaenda kwangu kukwekwe kupricam. Ndina chairman wangu wesel ndinogarawo pasi kana chidawo vachitaura ndosimudza voruvoko. Sometimes handisimudzi. Osi ndo zvinoitwa nditi. Hakuna kuramba vachingwa boss kwese kwese. Kana asvika kuseli ogara museli yako saizozvo kana asvika panzvimbo chekuti ondoona mukuru oratidzawo kutungamira kwani kwako handiti tive netsika idzodzo. The annual exercise reaffirms the importance of authentic grassroots structures as the solid base of our revolutionary mass party ZANU-PF. The National Cell Day also affords the party to share the collective aspirations of communities, which is important in advancing participatory governance. This is in line with our principle of leaving no one and no place behind.
The National Heroes Day commemoration will be coming this coming month, and it is a time where Zimbabweans will reflect on the road traveled. Lest we forget is the theme. And this was said by the President and First Secretary of the party.
Government under the Second Republic will continue to facilitate broad-based initiatives towards the welfare and empowerment of our veterans of the armed liberation struggle. I urge the War Veterans League to work closely with the Ministry of War Veterans Affairs and other agencies of government for the accelerated implementation of its activities.
Also, the 23rd National People's Conference will be taking place in October. And the people in this country will be re-looking at what has transpired, whether programs and the policies which were enunciated by the last year conference were fulfilled.
This session comes 4 months ahead of the next 23rd National People's Conference. It is in this context that we must reflect and assess our progress in implementing party resolutions. I exhort this meeting to make the necessary recommendations to accelerate the completion of ongoing party and government programs.
Zimbabwe's all-weather friend, the People's Republic of China, celebrated its 105 years of the founding of the Communist Party of China. And Zimbabwe gave its congratulations to the President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. As the nation takes stock of what is happening in the region and the coming back of our nationals, especially from South Africa, the President spoke about what nationals in this country have to do to welcome these people.
I appeal to all families and communities to exercise the true African values of compassion, love and caring for one another. More so as we welcome those returning home from the diaspora. Government has put in place comprehensive programs to ensure the seamless, safe and dignified reintegration of returnees.
It was a program full of a lot of things. The president told the Zimbabweans to prepare for the El Nino, which he, according to scientists, might visit this region where drought is expected to take place. He said that this is not a frightening message, but it's for people to prepare. As we go for this winter cropping and the summer cropping, people must realize that there might be a change of weather. Ruben Barwe, ZPC News, at the ruling party headquarters in Harare.
Chipochiteza, Mafugufugu, Umdala Wetu, and Father Zimbabwe are some of the several names which referred to the liberation stalwart. 27 years after his passing, the nation remembers the late Vice President Dr. Joshua Mkabugo Nyongolo Nkomo. In our next story, we trek to his rural home in Kezi, where he was put under house arrest in 1962, and his family reflects on the towering giant.
It's 27 years since the nation lost an iconic man, Dr. Joshua Mkabugo Nyongolo Nkomo. His memories continue to be cherished. His legacy continues to be honored and celebrated. And his honor, we are trekking to his rural home in Kezi, and we're hoping we'll find those who knew him better. But before we head for Kezi, we make a brief stop at his Machemsope home. Here we speak to one of his grandchildren. What kind of a grandfather was he?
Uzananzela ukuthi siyimuli siyifamily. Ufather Zimbabwe sihlala simkhumbula ngendlela eziningi ezitshiyeneyo. Ikakhulu thina njengentsha ngikhuluma njengami njengentsha ngingumzukulu wakhe. Ngiyi-leader of the Joshua Nkomo National Foundation as a CEO. Uzananzela ukuthi mningi imisebenzi esiyenza in honor of uFather Zimbabwe. Imisebenzi leyi siyenza siphiwa amadlabuzane ngemisebenzi yena ayeyenza ngesikhathi sakhe.
So from Machemsope, we are now on our way to Kezi, Dr. Nkomo's rural home. Like we mentioned earlier on, we need to speak to the people there. who was he to them as well. But we also do know that there's a vocational training center that is being constructed, and this is one of the legacy projects in honor of Dr. Nkomo. And so we will be checking progress on that. In Kezi, our first stop is at the Nkomo homestead. We are welcomed by his nephew, Mr. Thomas Nkomo, who speaks glowingly of Dr. Nkomo's legacy. The conversation ranges from Dr. Nkomo's love for sour milk, amasi, to the key attributes they admired about him.
Simkhumbula kakhulu baba wethu Nkomo, simkhumbula ngemisebenzi yakhe ayenzayo uNkomo. People should be very proud. Sizigcaje thina ngaye umdala wami. Mina sigcaje kakhulu, even noma ngilele ebusuku ngiyaphupha at times. Phupha esibili ngila ikhuluma la. Ngangile Nkomo la kusengu uchago. Umama wami mina ongizalayo esenza lokhuyana ukuthiwa ngamasi uchago kanti uyalwazi. Manje uNkomo wayethanda kakhulu khonokuyana amasi wona lana umama-ke amenzele. uNkomo thina imuli siyishiyela kakhulu ukuhlakanipha kokusebenzelana nabanye abantu.
As the conversation shifts to the days when Dr. Nkomo was under house arrest, his nephew walks us to the site where that house once stood.
Kwakuthiwa lapha umdala usezohlala lapha usevalile lapha ekhaya leli kasayindawo. Yipho sihlale khonapha babuya amabhunda bathe bebuya lapha ba-mounta ama-tents all over that side. Yikho lapha uNkomo wasekuthuza hlala la wahlala kuNkomo khona. Sasithola ama-visitors from all over bezombona uNkomo khona. Abanye even as far as Europe. Olokhuza lo away Prime Minister eSouthern Rhodesia uyamazi uyiseka Judy ubaba kaJudy Thoo.
From the Nkomo homestead, we move to the next village where we catch up with one of the family friends, 97-year-old Mr. Saul Ndlovu. In the stillness of the night, he chuckles and excitedly speaks about just how fond he was of Father Zimbabwe.
Bantu bakithi akaliboneni liphendule ibala leli lithi mali. Nxa uliphendula lithi lima. Asilimeni siligcine ilizwe lethu. Angilikhoja lelo. Ngoba kalikho ilizwe elingaphumelela kungalakudla. Angihlali 2-3 days ngiyakhangela. Ulengile nje endlini yami.
A portrait of Dr. Nkomo on Mr. Ndlovu's wall perhaps sums up just how much he was loved and appreciated by Zimbabwe.
Yeah. Ukuthi izinto zakhe zibe ziyajabulisa zikunika umdlandla ube ngumuntu.
As the nation remembers this iconic figure, one of his grandchildren, Limugani, has vivid memories of what it meant to him and other children at the homestead for Grandpa to come home.
Sasithi kwesinye isikhathi nxa eyabebuyile ekhamba lo delay to-Thuthani Nkomo bafike basinike $dola sibizwe njengamaZulu siphiwa $dola wonke umuntu owayekhona ekhaya wayenguSibili.
27 years later, it is crystal clear that Chibwe Chitedza, Mafugufugu, umdala wethu, was loved. Here in Kezi, the Joshua Mqabuko Nyongolo Nkomo National Youth Service and Vocational Training Center, which is under construction, will forever be a reminder in these villages of a great man who once lived amongst them. His sacrifices and love for the nation will forever be cherished. Josephine Mugio, ZBC News, KZ.
Vice President Colonel retired Dr. Kembo Mohadi has paid tribute to the late Father Zimbabwe, Dr. Joshua Nkomo, describing him as a unifying statesman whose legacy continues to inspire national unity, peace and development in Zimbabwe. He was speaking to ZBC News on the occasion of the 27th anniversary of his death.
Today is the 1st of July. Lilanga lapha kokhothama khona inkosi Mavafa ubaba uNkomo Father Zimbabwe wakhothama ngalona leli langa. So siyamkhumbula insuku zonke, simkhumbula ngemisebenzi yakhe emihle ayenzayo lapha eZimbabwe la ku region. Nguye umuntu wasungula ezombangazwe labanye abangasekhoyo laye. So basitshiyele into eyodwa ukuthi khona abantwana beZimbabwe kumele libambane. Akula ukuthi kulomunye umhlobo komunye njani singabantu banye sibambene sinjalo. So iZANU-PF leyizwa isikhulunywa ngayo iyo ebayimbanise abantu beZimbabwe emanyanise abantwana beZimbabwe. So siyambonga kakhulu ngomsebenzi omkhulu awenzileyo, and so saba lokho siqala simkhumbula ukuthi baba Zimbabwe wachiyela ilifa elingapheliyo lokubambana lokuthula. Singabambana kuba lokuthula, kungaba lokuthula kuba lentuduko.
Construction of the Mosia Tunya International Cricket Oval in Victoria Falls is progressing on schedule, with the venue now targeting May 2027 for its first international match as Zimbabwe intensifies preparations to co-host the ICC Cricket World Cup.
The sound of heavy machinery, drills and hammers has become part of the daily life in Masua area here in Victoria Falls. For the past 2 years, construction worker Abraham Ngale has reported to this site, helping transform a patch of land into what will be one of the flagship venues for the 2027 ICC Men's Cricket World Cup.
Mambona ama structures ephakama labantu beqhatshwa ukushengisela ukuthi hayi umsebenzi uyaqhuba ngendlela eyiyo.
This Wednesday, Vice President Colonel retired Dr. Kembo Mohadi alongside government ministers and Zimbabwe cricket officials assessed progress on this venue that is expected to combine sport, tourism and economic development once it is completed.
We're looking forward to open our season, our cricket season, which starts in October from here, first class, and then 2027. We have our first international games.
The project forms part of broader efforts to upgrade sporting infrastructure in Zimbabwe and position the country as a competitive destination for major international events.
What we have seen today is not merely the construction of a cricket stadium, but the development of a national asset that will save generations and generations to come of Zimbabweans and elevate our country's standing within the international sporting community.
But the ambitions here extend beyond the boundary Europe. Located in one of Africa's most visited destinations, the Cricket Oval is expected to attract new visitors and diversify the local tourism economy.
When people come into your country, as they're playing the games, they need somewhere to stay. They need somewhere to eat, to party. All that goes into your tourism economy. So that alone, with this facility that we're doing, which we're actually looking forward to make a multi-purpose facility, you'd find the whole economy will turn when an event is happening, from transport sector, the shops, everything.
After touring the facility, Vice President Mohadi said the progress that has been made so far was encouraging and asked the contractors to maintain the momentum ahead of the tournament.
Quite some development, to tell you the truth. And I did not expect to see such kind of development within that short space of time.
So, and what they are promising us that by May next year we can be commissioning this place, I do believe, because everything has been done. The grounds are done. The ways with the grounds, there's nothing that is left, except that here and there where there are sort of depressions and all the like, they are filling that. That's okay.
As the sounds of construction continue to echo across the site, Zimbabwe is betting that the emerging cricket stadium will be a catalyst for more jobs, tourism and international visibility as the world's attention turns to Southern Africa in 2027. Yolande Moyo, ZBC News, Victoria Falls.
Political analysts say the approval of the Constitutional Amendment No. 3 bill by Parliament reflects the views of the citizenry, which supported the strengthening of government architecture.
The sailing through of the Constitutional Amendment No. 3 bill in Parliament with overwhelming votes in the National Assembly and the Senate speaks to the wills of the people as expressed during the public hearings, where 99% supported the bill. Political analysts believe the overwhelming support shows the popularity of the bill as it meets the aspirations of Zimbabweans.
The voting patterns reflect the overwhelming majority that is required at law for the bill to pass, which is a two-thirds majority. And we see in the first voting process after the third reading, where we had 216 in favor of the bill and 42 against. Then in Senate we realized that 75 senators were in support of passing the bill, which is a two-thirds majority against the 4.
The democratic process was followed, and we are very happy that in terms of the constitution, everything to the letter was followed. There were public consultations, people were asked to input their own views, and there was overwhelming response, even in writing. Over 500,000 of people made the written submissions to Parliament.
CAB 3 followed the constitutional amendment process set out in the Constitution. After the bill was gazetted, Zimbabweans were given a 21-day period to study its contents before Parliament could begin its own formal consideration.
The Constitutional Amendment No. 3 bill passed as a refined document following robust debate in Parliament.
There are several highlights when we did Constitution Amendment No. 3. Firstly, Parliament in its wisdom decided that they were going to increase the number of public consultations from 1 per province to 1 per district. That on its own was historic, and we saw a large number of people participating in the public consultations alone. The physical number of people that attended was over 50,000, and we also had over 500,000 of those that submitted written submissions to Parliament. By itself, that is a record, and you notice the debate in Parliament across the divide, the contributions, the rich contributions that came through. I think that was also very historic.
The Constitutional Amendment No. 3 bill went through a democratic process which started with the adoption of the bill in Cabinet on the 10th of February, followed by the gazetting of the bill on the 16th of February by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Advocate Jacob Mudenda. After gazetting, the bill opened for public scrutiny, with Parliament taking it for public hearings where there were overwhelming turnout. Following the lapsing of the 90-day period, the bill was tabled in the National Assembly, where parliamentarians had rigorous and robust debates on the bill. After overwhelming support in the National Assembly, the bill was taken to Senate, which reviewed the proposals made in the lower house and came up with a number of amendments which they referred back to the National Assembly and were adopted this Tuesday. With all these processes that the Constitutional Amendment No. 3 bill went through, now it awaits presidential assent. Ruth Chawanda, ZBC News, Harare.
Drug survivors celebrated new beginnings as they graduated from Angel of Hope Foundation Drug Rehabilitation Center.
joy, warm embraces, and heartfelt songs of gratitude filled the Angel of Hope Foundation Drug Rehabilitation Center in Mbare as former drug survivors celebrated not only their recovery from addiction, but also the beginning of a new journey towards self-reliance through vocational skills training. Graduates of the 8th intake, drawn from all 10 provinces of the country, successfully completed the rehabilitation program under the First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa's Angel of Hope Foundation Drug Rehabilitation Center. Having overcome addiction, they are now set to enroll at the Vocational Training Center, where they will receive vocational training in various practical trades to equip them with the skills for employment, entrepreneurship, and independent living. The send-off ceremony marked an important transition from rehabilitation to empowerment. Representing the Permanent Secretary for Presidential Affairs and Devolution, Engineer Tafadzwa Muguti, Director in the Office of the President and Cabinet, Pastor Leopold Mahofa, commended Dr. Mnangagwa for complementing rehabilitation with skills development, saying the initiative gives survivors the tools to become productive members of society.
We salute Her Excellency for availing true love, time, wisdom, and resources to the vulnerable young and young adults, and demonstrating that a nation can only be rebuilt and reshaped by its own citizens through the adage of leaving no one and leaving no place behind.
The graduates expressed profound gratitude to the First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, for giving them a second chance at life and creating pathways for them to acquire vocational skills that will enable them to support themselves and their families after years of drug and substance abuse.
Standing before you is a man who has been given a second chance in life. We thank you for loving us and seeing us as people who are worth serving. We thank you for you cleaned us. You listened when we said no words. We promise to remain drug-free.
Sekutarisira kwandakanga ndakaita kuti ndikuda kusiyawo madrugs. Pare zvino ndakakurudzirwa nevachaive navo ndichitoonawo vamwewo kuti zvonzvo patoriwo nevamwe vakatovingawo zvandakavinga, naizvozvo ndakabva ndangokwanisa kungosimbawo. Asi kudhaya kwandiri kuendawo kundakatarisira kuti ndichadzidzawo maskills andikufanira unonodzidza ndichisiyawo zvemadrugs.
Angel of Hope yakwanisa kutibatsira inini nevamwe kuva ndinawo pagrupu rinori tachinja upenyu hwedu, izvo zvapa next gen yedu kuenda kudhadhaya. Tikufara zvisingaite kuti takunochinja futi upenyu hwedu, takunoenda pane chimwe chikamu, to another level, to another dimension.
Parents and guardians also welcomed the next phase of the program, saying vocational skills training will help ensure their loved ones remain focused.
Ndashaya mfaro ninyaya yekuti mwana wainzidiwa madrugs. Pandakazonzwa kuti kwakubatsirwa kwamai, ndakati regai ndiende kuti ndionewo kuwadzana nevamwe mumaraini, nokuti ndakanda enemy inini nemwana wangu. Chibva tatoita zvokutizirwa imba, mwana ndikati regai nditange ndagadzirisa kuti mwana ainde kwaamai unogara ikoko. Mwana imemba yebhora, imemba inoisa magetsi mudzimba, munhu anomhanya athletics, munhu anoacta pane vanga vachiimba apa anga aripo, anogona kuimba, anogona kutamba, anogona kumhanya, anogona kuisa magetsi mudzimba, electrician. Saka zvokuti kosi idzodzo dzinoda kuti aite agozoona kuchengeta inini tigozova kurega kuva kuchisekezo chamangwana.
Zvakaitwa pano neprogramu yamai yavakaronga yekuti vana vatorwe vachiuya pano kuzodzidziswa, tanga tiri kuona chiro chinoshambisa kwazvo. Regai ndipe kurudziro iyi kuti hama dzangu vanoshanda pano namai Mnangagwa, tinoti makaita henyu.
Vana vedu pavachaenda ikoko vachadzoka vaine zvibatiso, vachikwanisa kuzorarama upenyu hwavo hwakanaka, vachizotichengetawo isusu.
Deputy Director in the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Development and Vocational Training, Mr. Victor Manzuma, outlined the training program and urged the graduates to embrace the opportunity to develop practical skills that will open doors to employment and entrepreneurship.
With this new lease of life that you've been afforded by our First Lady, Amai Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, I want you to take it with confidence, with gratitude, with new and renewed determination that you are also going to make it in this life.
The First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, has constantly championed a comprehensive response to drug and substance abuse by combining rehabilitation, awareness campaigns, and economic empowerment. Her programs ensures that recovery is followed by skills development, enabling survivors to reintegrate into society with dignity and purpose. As they leave the Rehabilitation Center for Vocational Training, drug survivors carry with them renewed hope, practical opportunities, and the determination to build productive, self-reliant lives while contributing positively to their communities. Peter Chivima, ZBC News, Harare.
Zimbabwe is set to host the next meeting of the Council of Ministers responsible for trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area after a decision adopted at the 18th Council of Ministers meeting held in Abuja, Nigeria. The development marks another milestone in Zimbabwe's growing role in shaping Africa's trade and economic integration agenda.
Zimbabwe's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Professor Amon Murwira, who is in Abuja, Nigeria, for Council of Ministers meeting, says the African Continental Free Trade Area remains the continent's most important instrument for advancing economic integration through trade.
What is very important to note first and foremost is that trade is the lifeblood of foreign relations. The AFCFTA is a very important continental instrument for continental integration. We discussed about several lines, several agenda items to do with the AFCFTA, the main issue being the issue of tariffs, the harmonization of tariffs.
Addressing delegates, AFCFTA Secretary General Mr. Wamkele Mene said that the adoption of the remaining annexes on intellectual property rights by African heads of state signals the completion of the negotiation phase and the beginning of a new era focused on delivering tangible economic benefits.
Our heads of states, the Assembly of Heads of States and Government, adopted the remaining annexes to the Protocol on Intellectual Property Rights, which then sets in motion the ability for us to pivot entirely to implementation of the agreement.
Outgoing chairperson of the Council and Egypt's Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade, Dr. Mohamed Farid Saleh, said Africa has entered a new phase of regional economic integration, but stressed that implementation remains the greatest challenge.
Our priority for the next phase should be to accelerate the effective implementation of the agreement by increasing the number of state parties implementing tariff concessions and publishing their tariff schedules, as the Secretary General had mentioned. At the same time, we encourage those state parties that have not yet submitted their outstanding sensitive and excluded list B and C to do so at the earliest opportunity.
The Council of Ministers is expected to adopt several decisions aimed at accelerating implementation of the AFCFTA and deepening economic integration across the continent before the close of the meeting.
Government continues to upscale efforts to repatriate Zimbabweans who wish to return home from South Africa, with more buses and other critical services being offered at Beitbridge Border Post.
Seamless, near perfect. This is the obtaining situation at the Beitbridge Reception Center, where buses are coming one after the other, carrying the citizens of Zimbabwe who are being repatriated from South Africa after a volatile situation. The services like the medical services and food that is being offered, and the buses to ferry them to their final destinations, demonstrates a government that is so committed to the welfare of its citizenry, a government that is also on top of a situation that could have been volatile.
Now, as Gertrude and other citizens disembark from a bus for clearance, wild smiles and wild screams and a sigh of relief is written all over them. Gertrude's story is that of a victim of a situation. She had all the required documents, and yet her life was in danger. She is grateful to government for availing buses and all the necessary resources for a repatriation.
Kuno kundiko kumusha kufara chaizvo nezvavatiita kutipa mabhasi kuti tidzoke kwatanga tiri situation yanga isina kunyatso kumira zvakanaka.
Wild cheers and wide smiles and a sigh of relief written all over the faces of the repatriated citizens demonstrates a resilient Zimbabweans that are ready to start all over again after a potentially volatile situation in South Africa.
Ndinofara nekuti ndiri mupenyu. Kune vakatopikisa navo nekuti tiinde kumba. Asi kuti izvezvi vari munjodzi.
Kuti zvazvo na landlord kuti chibva ipano atichada tibva tabuda tisina kana chatinacho bva tatongotira tunhu tushoma dzimwe hembe kupisa kurasa.
Hurumende yatibetsera tofamba zvakanaka pano futi tava kufamba zvakanaka enda kumusha.
The repatriation program follows the displacement of Zimbabwean nationals and other Africans in some parts of South Africa. Government has reiterated its commitment to assisting all the Zimbabweans that are in South Africa who are willing to come home and pledged its support for their reintegration upon their arrival in communities. Providence Maranelli, ZBC News, Beitbridge.
Government has increased the national liquefied petroleum gas storage space after completion of the second phase of the National Oil Infrastructure Company LPG storage and handling facility in Ruwa.
The successful completion of the project's second phase by the National Oil Infrastructure Company, NOIC, has increased the liquefied petroleum gas LPG storage and handling capacity from about 650 to 2,000 metric tons, marking a significant milestone in the country's quest to secure its energy reserves amid a surging national demand for cleaner household fuels. The development was confirmed at the NOIC annual general meeting held in Harare this Tuesday.
We've been witnessing fluctuations in the prices of gas because gas was becoming in short supply and all that. But with the coming on board of the 2,000 metric tons of gas, there is now security of supply, and we hope the prices will be stabilized as a result.
Driven by its focus on key infrastructure projects such as the capacity upgrade of the Beira-Feruka-Masasa pipeline, the entity has declared a dividend of over $22 million United States to its shareholder Mutapa Investment Fund.
They achieved a record throughput of 2.67 billion liters, which was up significantly from the prior year, and that really translated into improved financial performance, bottom line performance, where they declared a substantial dividend of 590 million ZiG, which translates to about $22.7 million, which is a significant increase from last year's dividend of $10 million.
NOIC has now set its sights on the further upgrade of the Beira-Feruka-Masasa pipeline, a strategic expansion project poised to boost the pipeline's pumping capacity to about 5 billion liters per annum. John Nandara, ZBC News, Ruwa.
Government continues to strengthen its systems through capacitating new office bearers on their responsibilities in line with Vision 2030.
As part of promoting efficiency in government, President Dr. Emmerson Mnangagwa created the Ministry of Lands and Rural Development, which is presided over by Honorable Vangelis Aritatos, who is deputized by Honorable Tsitsi Zhou, with Dr. Prosper Matondi as permanent secretary. The newly appointed officials went through an induction process led by Chief Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Dr. Martin Rushwaya, in Harare this Wednesday. Briefing journalists on the process, Deputy Chief Secretary in the Office of the President and Cabinet, Reverend Paul Damasane, said it is imperative to go through the process as it strengthens government systems.
When the President creates a ministry, he gives that minister and the ministry a mandate to execute. That mandate is in tandem with the broader vision and scope of operation that the President would have desired that entity to undertake. And in this instance, is the Ministry of Lands and Rural Development. Their mandate has been clearly spelled out.
Minister of Lands and Rural Development, Honorable Vangelis Artatos, applauded the move, saying it gives direction as the ministry works on a new land policy.
One of our main targets is the title deed program. This is of fundamental importance to us. We are also working on a new land policy. That's also fundamental. We're working on a master plan for the country. We are also looking at strategies for rural development, rural industrialization, where we spearhead value addition.
Zimbabwe is promoting the growth of rural economies through creating new industries in communities to meet citizens' aspirations. Bruce Chawanda, ZBC News, Harare.
Zimbabwe's cervical cancer elimination drive has received a major boost after the World Health Organization donated screening and diagnostic equipment worth nearly $200,000 United States under the Women Integrated Cancer Services Project. The handover was conducted by World Health Organization Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Mohamed Yaqub Janabi, on the sidelines of the ongoing SADC interministerial meeting of Ministers of Finance and Health underway in Harare.
Cervical cancer remains one of the leading causes of cancer deaths among women in Africa, with many cases diagnosed at advanced stages when treatment options are limited. In a move aimed at reversing that trend, the World Health Organization has partnered with the government of Zimbabwe to strengthen early detection, diagnosis and treatment through the donation of critical medical equipment that will expand access to life-saving services, particularly in rural communities.
We have got a program that is going on, and our First Lady, Dr. Auxilia Mnangagwa, is the champion and patron of this program of eliminating cancer in Zimbabwe. And this equipment is going to go a long way in terms of achieving that.
The support, according to WHO Regional Director Dr. Mohamed Yaqub Janabi, complements Zimbabwe's cervical cancer elimination program and comes as SADC ministers deliberate on sustainable health financing and stronger health systems during the regional meeting underway here in Harare.
The way WHO works, we listen to the country priorities, we discuss with the Minister of Health and the Honorable Minister what are the needs and how can smart partnership with WHO and the government. We came up, among other things, was the screening, treatment and diagnostic way of cervical cancer.
Beyond cancer care, the WHO also donated cholera response tents worth $150,000 United States, reinforcing Zimbabwe's emergency preparedness. This support strengthens the country's health system as it pushes to eliminate cervical cancer, one screening, one diagnosis, and one life saved at a time. Abigail Tembo, ZBC News, Harare.
The newly established Kasambabezi border post in Binga district is set to strengthen relations, Zimbabwe and Zambia relations, while promoting trade and boosting economic opportunities for the two countries.
Kasambawezi border post here in Binga district is one of the signature projects being spearheaded by the Second Republic. The construction of this border post began in October 2025. This structure is now awaiting commissioning.
All the counters have been set up and we are already operating from the new building.
The special advisor to the president, responsible for monitoring implementation of government programs and projects, Dr. Joram Gumbo, said the border post will not only improve the lives of people living in the area, but will also contribute to national economic growth. The setting up of Kasambawezi border post is also expected to enhance the relations between Zimbabwe and Zambia.
The coming up with this post here is going to be very helpful, not only for the locals, but also for our economy in Zimbabwe at large, because it will stop people from smuggling and at the same time giving some revenue to to the country.
Travelers from both Zimbabwe and Zambia welcomed the port of entry, describing it as a more convenient alternative to crossing through Victoria Falls and Kazungula border posts.
Iri kuti gwasya kukwenda kwesu kamba kuti ngatwasika ano twalemberwa magwala kuti no twinke okukunda utwa kuzibhadhera akukuoda zinthu for my businesses.
Me, I'm from Zambia. This border post is really helping people to meet family members, even funeral. It's easy.
From here, Kasambawezi border post in Binga district, across into Zambezi, into Namafulo border post, that's where people will be entering Zambia through. Tichaona Kurewa, ZBC News, Binga.
Now, do remember, for more news, you can log on to our website, zbcnews.co.zw. You can also visit our X handle at ZBC News Online. On Facebook, we are at ZBC News Online. Our YouTube channel is at ZBC News Online. And now, in stories still to come in this bulletin, in business, Zimbabwe tobacco sector continues to maintain its top position as Africa's biggest grower of the golden leaf. And in sports, Dynamos and Hard Rock are fined after the abandonment of their match day 14 fixture. And our main news is after a break. We will be right back.
Beneath our soil lies more than mineral wealth. It is opportunity, innovation, and the foundation of Zimbabwe's industrial future. From resource extraction to value addition, manufacturing, transport, and energy, Zimbabwe is driving growth through mining value chains. And every year, the leaders shaping this future gather under one roof. Welcome to MineEntra 2026. The premier platform where mining companies, suppliers, investors, innovators, and policymakers connect, collaborate, and unlock new opportunities. Join us from the 29th to the 31st of July 2026 at the Zimbabwe International Conference and Exhibition Smart City in Bulawayo. Exhibit at MineEntra 2026 to expand your network and grow your business. Register your attendance today. MineEntra 2026. Unearth, transform, prosper. Anchoring economic transformation through mining value chain.
Be part of the national cleanup this Friday. Let's come out in our numbers and clean our surroundings. Schools, workplaces, businesses, and communities. Everyone has a role to play. Together, let's support the zero waste movement and build a cleaner, healthier environment. Don't be left out. Join the national cleanup this Friday and let's keep Zimbabwe clean. Clean today for a better tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the Environmental Management Agency, together protecting the environment.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you are watching the main news. In our following reports, the government has appointed and inducted trustees for 15 Community Economic Empowerment Trust boards as it accelerates the establishment of 46 more boards across the country. The initiative is aimed at strengthening community participation in economic development and ensuring local communities benefit from the sustainable utilization of resources.
The initiative, facilitated by the Ministry of Industry and Commerce underway in Kadoma, seeks to strengthen the capacity of the trust and ensure communities derive sustainable benefits from natural resources found within their areas. Industry and Commerce Minister Honorable Mangaliso Ndlovu said government has introduced a framework requiring qualifying mining investments to channel at least 2% of their gross annual revenue towards community development.
Community trusts should not be seen as charitable organizations that are waiting to receive some charity or recipients of corporate social responsibility. We are saying that by virtue of them having these resources, they are active players, they are key stakeholders, they are owners of the resources.
The workshop also highlighted the need for a whole-of-government approach with relevant ministries expected to align their programs in support of community economic empowerment.
The trust will help transform rural communities into productive economic centers that create employment, generate wealth, and contribute to attainment of Vision 2030.
Chief Chikwaka welcomed the initiative.
It is our gratitude to our visionary leader, the President of the great nation, for his leadership. Sakamufaro wangu kuti President wakati paero basi vakainyika yenyu.
The Community Economic Empowerment Trust are expected to complement the devolution agenda by promoting inclusive economic growth and ensuring communities directly benefit from the exploitation of local resources. Chamuka Charakupa, ZBC News, Kadoma.
Mashonaland Central Province has made remarkable strides in the attainment of Vision 2030 in various social and economic spaces that came under the spotlight during a media tour this Wednesday.
Zimbabwe's story of economic growth and development continues to develop, and Panvet Agricultural Lime Producing Factory, which employs about 144 employees, was the perfect starting point for the media tour led by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services.
One of the lime mining companies that we were subcontracted to, it closed down. Then we decided to approach Ministry of Mines to have our own claims. So in 2022, that's when we started Panvet mining. We started doing agricultural lime, and then later on discovered that the industry, they also want lime.
In its quest to leave no place and no one behind, government has included the education sector in its story of growth and development, with a 352-bed boys' hostel being constructed at the Bindura University of Science Education.
Our student enrollment was around 5,000. So if we are going to complete the male hostel and we still have got the female and the other 240-bed hostel, I think we will be there around 1,000. And if we are saying we are around 5,000, I think 1,000 students in hostel in accommodation is quite significant.
Government is committed to universal access to healthcare, which saw the Devolution Fund wholly financing the construction of Muyambuko Clinic, which opened doors in 2024. This was the third port of call for the Permanent Secretary of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Mr. Nick Mangwana. Patients who used to travel 28 kilometers to nearby health facilities commended improved accessibility of services.
ndakatombobatwa neshuga dai vanga vasina chipatara chiri padhuze anofunga kuti dai utano hwangu husina kunyatsoita zvakaita se zvakanaka.
Muyambuka Clinic has a wide catchment of 5,000 people, making it a key health facility in the district.
Panapa panoya vanhu vakawanda vanobva kumawards akasiyana-siyana. On average per month tinorapa vanhu 596 on average.
Public-private partnerships also came under spotlight at Zitokwe Primary School in Shamba district, built by Canterbury Mining Company to complement government efforts in provision of education.
As a company, it is our sustainability policy to also be seen to be doing mining that profits the communities that are around us. Against that background, we had to make sure that we build a modern school.
Permanent Secretary for Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Mr. Nick Mangwana, applauded the response by companies to the President's Zimbabwe is open for business mantra.
What the Honorable MP has done is, and the community, is to insist on anyone who is doing an extractive business in this community to first bring in something for that community before you extract their resource out. I think it's a perfect model which we can take and roll out across the country, because you heard that just in the last, say, 3 years, 14 schools have been built in these communities using that very developmental model. And the clinics are being built as well. Here, I think we have a lot to learn, and other communities have a lot to learn.
Marshal and Central Permanent Secretary for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Mr. Timothy Maregere, highlighted the completed and ongoing projects in the province are complementing Vision 2030.
Through the visionary policies of the Second Republic, our province continues to witness significant investment in infrastructure, education, health, agriculture, and industrial development.
From mining to agriculture, health and education, Mashonaland and Central Province is on the move, making great strides towards the attainment of Vision 2030. Tapiwa Machemedze, ZBC News, Shamba.
The late Major General, retired Evaristo Ziwema, has been described as a seasoned public servant whose career spanned both the military and civil service. The remarks were made this Wednesday evening at a church service held at Charles Kumbo Barracks in Harare.
Senior government officials, family and friends this Wednesday gathered at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport to receive the body of Major General retired Evaristo Ziwema from India. From the airport, the body was taken to Charles Kumbo Barracks, where it will lie in state. Major General retired Ziwema, who died Thursday last week in India, where he was receiving treatment, has been described as a humble man who not only brought his family together, but inspired them to reach their goals.
nekuzvininipisa nezvinhu zvese zvatinoita. Vanga vari munhu wataitarisa sekuti ini kwandiri ndaitowaona sababa. Vanga vari munhu aipa mazano. Anga ari munhu aida kudzidza.
The Minister of Veterans of the Liberation Struggle, Senator Monica Mavunga, described the late senior military officer as a principled man who served his government well.
Comrade Evaristo Ziwema, nengo inonzi inokwikwiza yaikwikwiza nokuti veterans community noti muzive pano kuti vanhu vese vanga vachifona kubva pashaya Comrade Ziwema, vamwe vachitoita nekuuya kuofisi asi vachitaura shoko rekungoti tasiwa nemunhu anga achitibatsira.
The late Major General retired Ziwema occupied several high-ranking positions as he served as Chief Director in the Ministry of Youth and later in the Ministry of Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Affairs. He was also a member of the Veterans of the Liberation Struggle Board. Known for his commitment to national service, Major General retired Ziwema was among a generation of liberation stalwarts and military leaders who successfully transitioned into public administration, playing a significant role in government programs and initiatives aimed at improving the welfare of veterans of the liberation struggle. Memory Chamisa, ZBC News, Harare.
The Zimbabwe Broadcasting Corporation is on the verge of signing a memorandum of understanding with the Zimbabwe Defense Forces for the documentation and archiving of military history as well as liberation heritage.
Preservation of Zimbabwe's rich liberation history is key in terms of also ensuring that our heritage outlives us. Today, there were some nuggets that came out of the deliberations as the 5 services continue to speak on issues of preserving military history and the history of the liberation struggle. We are privileged to get to sit down with ZBC CEO Mr. Sugar Chagonda to just get from him the nature of the interaction that they had today.
As ZBC, we are very much excited to be part of this important discourse where we are discussing the preservation of our rich history and heritage, as well as the history that is anchored by the liberation struggle. So as the ZBC and the ZDF and security services, so to say, we've got a shared vision, because from a ZBC point of view, we are also advancing heritage-based programming and broadcasting, so to say.
Earlier on, we also had an opportunity to speak to Group Captain Dube, who is the Director of Programs CMR at Zimbabwe Defense Forces Headquarters.
One of our functions or our roles to ensure that we inform and educate on heritage as well as maintaining heritage sites. And the only way of doing that is to ensure that the resource persons have the knowledge on what actually happened and come up with the correct history which has to be kept safely.
These are the interesting discussions that are currently taking place in Mutare as the Director General Civil Military Relations and Civic Education Seminar still continues to unravel. We will also witness the participants visiting national historical sites such as Nyadzonya and Chimoio. I'm Roderick Mashingaidze reporting for ZBC News in Mutare.
Gender rights experts have raised concern on the alarming statistics on gender-based violence and sexual offences recorded by the National Prosecuting Authority last year. The statistics show that close to 12,000 convictions out of at least 17,000 cases were recorded in 2025, highlighting the scale of a crisis facing women and girls.
Gender-based violence and sexual offences remains a millstone for authorities, with many cases being reported across the country.
The 2023-2024 Zimbabwe Demographic and Health Survey, ZDHS, unveiled last month, revealed a worrying pattern on the welfare of women and girls in the country. According to the findings of this survey, at least 1 in every 11 Zimbabwean women aged between 15 and 49 has experienced sexual violence during a lifetime. The gravity of this challenge is also revealed in official statistics by the National Prosecuting Authority, NPA, which show close to 17,000 gender-based violence and sexual offences were received in 2025, with at least 12,000 convictions.
The walls are no longer a safe space, as children are raped by their biological fathers and close relatives.
We have had an 18-month-old who was raped by her biological father. It was a terrible situation where you're looking at a child as young as that. This is a case that happened in St. Mary's, and sadly, she passed on.
Child rights organizations and gender-based violence advocates are equally concerned and have raised the red flag over the prevailing trend, which they say is a crisis in the making.
I think we need to shift our focus to say when the perpetrator abuses, it's them who should be held to account. So the problem of abuse should never be about the survivor, but it should be about the perpetrator being accountable for their actions.
Government has come up with a number of frameworks to support and safeguard girls and women against gender-based violence and sexual violations. Initiatives such as one-stop centers for survivors and victim-friendly units have assisted to weed out cases.
A lot of people, when they become aware,
they are also become aware of their rights and become aware of the services, and hence the higher numbers that we are currently seeing.
At the rate at which gender-based violence and sexual offences are being committed in these communities, it points to a situation that is really of concern for the authorities, and it calls for urgent attention to curb the scourge that is tearing through the lives of young children and women. Theophilus Chumas, NBC News, Harare.
And that report takes us to a break. We will be back with business news.
The Commissioner General of Police, Stephen Tamba, Deputy Commissioner Generals, Commissioners, Senior Officers, Junior Officers, and members of the Zimbabwe Republic Police and their families join His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Head of State and Government, and Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, Comrade Dr. Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, in mourning the passing on of Ambassador Victor Matemadanda on the 21st of June 2026. The country has lost a distinguished Liberation War veteran, politician, diplomat, and patriot who dedicated his life to the attainment, preservation, and development of the country during the liberation struggle after independence and in the ushering of the Second Republic. The late national hero, Ambassador Victor Matemadanda, joined the liberation struggle in the 1970s and underwent military training before operating in Zambia and Mozambique in 1979. He was deployed in Mutoko as a Zanda combatant, where he actively participated in the armed struggle that culminated in Zimbabwe's independence in 1980. After the attainment of independence, Ambassador Matemadanda continued to serve the nation with distinction as Secretary General of the Zimbabwe National Liberation War Veterans Association. He tirelessly championed the welfare and interests of former freedom fighters while contributing significantly to the growth, leadership, and policy direction of the association. In 2018, he was elected Member of Parliament for Gokwe and subsequently appointed Deputy Minister of Defense and War Veterans Affairs, where he played a pivotal role in advancing policy aimed at safeguarding national security and improving the welfare of war veterans. In 2021, he was appointed Ambassador to the Republic of Mozambique and the Kingdom of Eswatini. During his diplomatic tenure, he worked diligently to strengthen the historic bonds of friendship, economic cooperation, and diplomatic relations between Zimbabwe and the two sister republics. The Zimbabwe Republic Police will continue to draw inspiration from the late national hero's unwavering dedication to freedom, peace, security, and the socio-economic development of the nation. His legacy serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made by the liberation generation in securing the Zimbabwe we enjoy today. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Go well, son of the soil. Hamba kahle qhawe lamaqhawe. Famba zvakanaka, gamba remagamba.
Welcome back. We now move on to business news, where Zimbabwe's tobacco sector continues to attract the interest of global institutions, with the International Tobacco Growers Association saying the nation has maintained its top position as Africa's biggest grower of the golden leaf.
A delegation of the International Tobacco Growers Association is in Zimbabwe for a two-day regional meeting aimed at formulating strategies for growth. ITGA Chief Executive Officer Mrs. Mercedes Vasquez expressed satisfaction with Zimbabwe's ongoing reforms in the tobacco industry.
Zimbabwean tobacco is considered one of the best quality tobacco in the world. And the tobacco growers in Zimbabwe are also considered one of the most experienced growers in the world. So through the ITGA, the International Tobacco Growers, where the Zimbabwe Tobacco Association is represented, there is a lot of interest for Zimbabwean tobacco for all these facts, and because you have kept through this century or century and a half a very good production system.
Government has also expressed a commitment to work with the ITGA in the overall growth of the tobacco industry.
Tobacco production has increased by about 90% to the record 355 million kilograms in 2025, and this year we will be 380 to 400 million kilograms, and this attests to the astute leadership of His Excellency Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa and his Vision 2030 of ensuring that we produce 500 million kilograms of tobacco.
The International Tobacco Growers Association confidence in the local industry comes as Zimbabwe celebrates record-breaking production levels for the past 2 years. Stanley James, ZBC News, Harare.
And now from business, we move on to arts news, where Zimbabwe's gospel music calendar is set for another major worship experience with the July Worship Music Festival returning on the 11th of this month at Glamis Arena.
Since its launch in 2018, the July Worship Music Festival has grown into one of the country's biggest gospel gatherings, attracting thousands of worshippers annually. Addressing a media conference this Wednesday, organizers said this year's edition promises a diverse worship experience, bringing together established gospel ministers, emerging artists, former backing vocalists, and gospel hip-hop performers on the stage.
We have the category of the highest praise. We are going to have 5 anointed ministers coming on stage at once. And then we also have what we call the new voices or voices of the future. These are faces that you've never seen probably on this platform.
Budding artists have welcomed the opportunity to perform on a major gospel platform, promising worshippers an uplifting and memorable experience.
I was just used to being a BV and a directorship, but now it's pushing me into being a solo artist. So I'm so excited.
On this event, I believe there's going to be a highest level of praise.
For a long time, we've been sidelined. So I'm really grateful to Minister Mayandela for opening up this platform for us to also minister to people.
Festival founder Minister Michael Mayandela said the July Worship Festival remains firmly anchored on its core mission of praising and worshipping God. Among artists set to perform are Ileana Makombe, Gemma Griffiths, Michael Mayandela, Mishok Mahendere, the Cherais, and the Charamba family. Patience Nyakato, ZBC News, Harare.
From arts news, we move on to sports news, where the Premier Soccer League has imposed heavy sanctions on Dynamos and Hard Rock after the abandonment of their matchday 14 fixture, with both clubs fined and ordered to complete the remaining 14 minutes of the match behind closed doors at a neutral venue.
Hard Rock and Dynamos have been fined for their roles in the crowd trouble, which caused the abandonment of their match on the 24th of May at Chawanda Stadium. Referee Makamagare stopped the match in the 76th minute, with the two teams tied at 1-0 following a pitch invasion and violent clashes between rival supporters. The two clubs have been fined $10,000 each, with Hard Rock receiving a partially suspended penalty. Hard Rock have also been ordered to play one of their home matches behind closed doors, submit a revised security management plan within 30 days, and conduct mandatory joint pre-match security briefings with the Zimbabwe Republic Police before every remaining home league fixture. Dynamos have also been ordered to pay $10,000 fine and submit a comprehensive away supporters management and marshalling plan to the league within 30 days. The disciplinary committee also ruled that the remaining 14 minutes of the abandoned fixture will be played behind closed doors at a neutral venue on a date to be announced by the Premier Soccer League. In addition, Dynamos and Hard Rock will equally share the matchday expenses incurred from the abandoned fixture, as well as the cost of the disciplinary hearing. Hard Rock Chief Executive Officer Kudzanai, however, has been suspended from all football-related activities for the remainder of the 2026 season in order to pay a fine of $5,000 after he was found guilty of disorderly conduct, pitch invasion, and violent behavior. Lawrence Suseda, ZBC News, Harare.
The Castle Lager Premier Soccer League is set for a major boost with the return of several high-profile Zimbabwean stars, promising to raise the standard of competition and intensify the race for honors.
The Castle Lager Premier Soccer League is preparing for one of its most exciting second-half campaigns in recent years, as established Zimbabwean internationals make their long-awaited return to the domestic game. Leading the latest wave of homecomings is Warriors defender Gerald Takwara, who has signed for ambitious title challenges Hard Rock. The commanding centre-back joins the Kwekwe-based outfit after leaving Iraqi side Al-Mina at the expiry of his contract, ending a long spell away from the local league following his departure from Gezi Platinum. Former Warriors number 1 Washington Arubi has also returned home after completing a move to Cape United. The 40-year-old goalkeeper reunites with the Zimbabwean top flight following the end of his stint with the South African Premiership side Marumo Gallants. It will be Arubi's first appearance in the local league since leaving Dynamos in 2012. Makebekebe have also brought in Botswana goalkeeper Victor James, who was standing out for Twaneng FC. Warriors right-back Emmanuel July is another headline return after joining Scotland on loan from South African outfit Durban City. The former Dynamos captain is expected to spend the remainder of the season with the PSL newcomers before returning to Durban City in January 2027. The trio now joins established stars Knowledge Msora and Kama Billiard, whose presence has already added glamour to the domestic league. With the household names returning home and the clubs strengthening their squads, all signs point to a blockbuster second half of the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League season. Foreigners such as Kwake Twala and Moses Shidolo of Scotland, Frank Ayamang of Dynamos, and Hard Rock's Neliswa Dlamini, among others, have also brought their A game, raising the standard of the local league, with the fans also reciprocating by attending matches in huge numbers. With the players such as Warriors forward Prince Dube and former Sundowns striker Peter Shalulile being courted by local clubs, the excitement can reach a fever pitch. Anna Shemrombezi, ZBC News, Harare.
Yvonne Mapika Manwa has bounced back as the Zimbabwe Football Association's substantive General Secretary after being reappointed to the post. The former Gezi Platinum Stars Chief Executive returns to the role after a competitive recruitment process, having previously served as ZEFA General Secretary between 2023 and 2025. Her appointment comes at a time the association continues efforts to strengthen its administration and drive football development. And in cricket news, Zimbabwe's convincing Test series victories over Afghanistan and Bangladesh have sparked belief that the Chevrons are finally finding the right balance in home conditions after recording back-to-back innings wins for the first time in their Test history.
Zimbabwe produced a convincing display against Bangladesh, prompting analysts to believe that the team is starting to get the right balance, and also going forward they believe that this is now the platform to launch a successful campaign. Before this test match, Zimbabwe had also managed to beat Afghanistan convincingly.
The trajectory is certainly suggesting that this team is on the rise, because back-to-back series wins and also the margin of victory as well. We beat Afghanistan by an innings and a bit, and obviously Bangladesh now as well. I think the departments are firing. I think Justin Simons has got the team to have an identity, especially with the quartet of the fast bowlers, Blessing Msarabane, Richard Ngarawa, and then the youngster as well, Newman Nyamuri, is just burst onto the scene. And obviously the batting department as well, Innocent Kaia, back in the side after a period away through injury. He's had to really work hard on his fitness to come back and stake a claim in the side. And runs all round as well, contributions from Brian Bennett, Wesley Madewere, and Craig Evan as well. So there are signs that this team has established a working identity and blueprint going forward.
The two teams are back on the Harare Sports Club pitch on Monday as they start off the 3 one-day internationals before they fly off to Bulawayo for the T20 series. Lawrence Ruseda, ZBC News, Harare.
The Met Department is on standby with the weather.
Hello and welcome to tonight's weather report and forecast. Warmer conditions expected, but for today we had a bit of cloudiness over the southeastern parts of the country, covering Chirezi and Beitbridge districts. But by afternoon that had cleared off, and we're expecting more humid conditions to drift in from the west, giving us warmer conditions across much of the country, beginning in the western parts of the country. But with that, we expect even our minimums to be influenced with a bit of moisture, also giving us a bit of scattered clouds over those western parts of the country. By afternoon, we're expecting warmer conditions, especially over this western parts of the country, with them spreading across the country as we get into the later parts of the week because of that increase in humidity, making it warmer than of late. For Bulawayo, we're expecting maximums to also rise as we get into the weekend, with the projection of lower conditions as we move out of the weekend. But for my top weeks, we're also expecting a bit of cloudiness with that warmth. Same for Gwanda, we're expecting brief cloudy periods, but this should give warmer conditions because of the increase in humidity across board. For Masvingo, we're expecting a bit of scattered clouds as we get into Friday. Maximum of 29 for tomorrow, whilst Gweru is at 26 for most of the days, rising to about 27 because of that increase in humidity as we get into the weekend. And for Mutare, we're expecting warmer conditions as well. 28 is projected there for much of this week, and even into the weekend still above 25. 23 for Nyanga, which is much warmer than we normally experience, but it falls to about 20 as we get into Monday. For Marondera, mostly 25s for much of this week, falling to about 23 as we begin next week. And for Harare, we're expecting mostly above 25 even into the weekend, but it falls to about 24 on Monday. 30s and 28s for Kwekwe. We're expecting also warmer conditions in Kaloma with 29 and above for most of the days. For Chinhoyi, we're expecting 29 and above as well. Lupane also above 30 for much of this week into the weekend. For Bindura, above 27 for much of the week. And for Victoria Falls, above 30 even into the weekend. We're expecting more of the sunny skies with brief cloudy periods. For Kariba, above 30 for much of this week. And with those warmer projections, we wish you a pleasant evening, and it's back to the news desk.
And that's it from the main news team for tonight. Good night.